Now, Jane, welcome back to the Young Turks.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cenk. How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. First, I've been getting a lot of heat, Jane, and a lot of support, too, on both sides, on saying that it's fairly clear that Barack Obama is going to step away from the public option. Now, do I have that wrong, or do you think I have it pretty much right?
Well, I think you have it right there. I think the White House has been dealing with the stakeholders all summer with Max Baucus. They cut secret deals with pharma and the hospitals and the AMA that are secret to the extent that we don't know what they are, but the fact that they were cut was written up in the Washington Post and Roll Call and all these other magazines. So we know that they did that, and the details that have come forward are not particularly good, and indicate that the public plan was probably dealt away a long time ago in order to keep stakeholder money out of Republican coffers and financing a Republican resurgence in 2010. So I think the public plan's been gone for a while.
So, look, a lot of people will ask, Jane, you're saying and I'm saying that he never really meant to do what he said he was going to do. And that's kind of a heavy charge to lay on Obama. People rightfully got excited and spent a lot of time and energy into his campaign. It's very, very disappointing to hear that if it's true. So they say you should have good evidence to back you up with that heavy charge. So
I don't think that he meant that he never meant to do it. But he got into office, and who is he going to hire to be his staff, right? Mm-hmm. He hires the people who were in the Clinton administration, who are the people who have experience at that level. And what was their experience in 1994? It was unmitigated disaster. They lost 54 seats. They turned control over to the Republicans. And when you tell a member of Congress that they're going to have to face that situation again if they're up against health care, they go, whoa, this does not sound good to me. So they went in from a political perspective and said, okay, we got to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's the first thing we got to do, because if we lose our majorities, we haven't got anything. Right? So how do we do that? Well, the way we do that is to make all these people comfortable, which they did. They brought them to the White House, and everybody submitted plans. The pharmaceutical, pharma submitted plans, the AMA, the hospitals, everybody else submitted plans saying we'll reduce the rate of increase cost 1.5% a year. I mean, it's like, at the time you're sitting there going, I don't quite know why they're doing this. And then it starts getting written into the Baucus bill. It starts getting written into the Blue Dogs, what they're forcing into the House bill, and you can see, and it's sort of, it's written about in these magazines, and it's sort of accepted conventional wisdom on the Hill that this is sort of what's gone down. And it isn't that it was ever like he wanted to, I'll screw the people who voted for me. It's that he got into office and he was surrounded by people that overlearned a historical lesson. And once they had cut those deals, what they were left with wasn't very much.
Well, there's two aspects of that I want to talk about. One, they lost 54 seats, and they didn't even get the bill. You see,
right.
It might have been worth those 54 seats if they'd gotten the bill. And it seems to me that they've learned all the wrong lessons. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think you're absolutely right. They did learn the wrong lessons. And what they're doing now, instead of abandoning the public plan, I think they thought that they could sell it. So what's left, right? You've got no pre-existing condition. You've got community rating. You've got things that basically, if you explain them to people, they go, oh, yeah, kind of, but that's not what I thought. I meant when you said health care reform. And they're depressing the base. And frequently people are like, you're depressing the base, you're not making me happy. And then people say, oh, well, that's, you can't, if he's, not appeasing the extreme left, that's a good thing. Well, except the right is appeasing the extreme right and getting them all riled up. So who's going to turn out in the midterm election, right?
And it's not just a matter of who's going to turn out. Like we talked about in the last segment, it's also a matter of who's going to work for you. We have a former campaign staffer, Mike Elk, wrote this, great piece on Huffington Post saying...
He's great.
Yeah, he said, look, how am I going to get excited again? And how do I tell all these people to work that long and that hard when they don't do what they said they were going to do? So I'm going to go further than you then, because
okay.
I think when that Rahm Emanuel comes to Obama and says, hey, look, we're going to cut these deals, and in order to cut these deals, these guys won't play ball if we have the public option. We got to go ahead and kill it. I think that is not manslaughter. I think that's homicide. Okay? I think they thought about it. It was premeditated, and they killed it a long time ago. It's not like they fought, and then they just at the last second decided, we just can't do it. We are short 2 votes, and all right, we'll compromise.
No, they've been whipping blue dog votes for the bill for a healthcare package by saying that it will not contain a public plan. Like, I know people. It's not a mystery. This is what they've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, so it's not to say that Obama stumbled into being against the public option. It's not right. He chose to kill it a long time ago, if these reports are true, and I don't see any counter evidence that they're not true. So that's really discouraging.
It's discouraging, but it's also really makes you question the political wisdom going on here. I think they thought that people wouldn't care, and I don't know about you, but what I'm feeling listening to people talk on the blogs, just ordinary people that you know in your life who aren't necessarily really politically involved, they are really upset. Like, this is kind of seismic, you know?
Yeah, it is. I mean, people are really mad at this because I think that's what Rahm Emanuel's miscalculating. Because we thought Obama was different. We, and when I say we, I don't mean me and you, Jane. I mean the people who listen to this show, the people who read Fire Dog Lake, the people who worked for him, who fought for him, and then you come to find out if he's just a regular old politician, what the hell did we fight for? I think they're not understanding what they're doing here, that they're really ripping the heart out of people being excited about this guy.
Someone told me recently that they thought that Obama had awakened this thing in people that we haven't seen in over a generation, and that it doesn't go away just because if they think that they can direct it in a place like this, they can't control it. It's still alive, and it still wants to seek expression, and I think that's what we're seeing here, which is a good thing. Like, people are saying, no, I'm not going to be satisfied with what's left over after Rahm Emanuel cuts his deals. Like, I want real health care reform. And if I have to take a look at the political system of lobbyists and influence and how, money gets, buys influence in our system, I'm ready to do that. And I personally think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, but that enthusiasm, look, he told us, yes, we can. Okay, that was his theme, right? Yes, we can. Now he's saying,
he did.
Yeah, and now he's saying, no, we really couldn't. So I'm going to give you a quarter loaf. Because before it was half a loaf, now we find out they're not even going to do universal coverage.
No, he's going to give you a bill.
No, he's going to give you
As
something.
Chris said on my blog today, like, it's like the you have to buy car auto insurance. You make you buy something you can't afford to use.
Yeah, so I've been calling President Rahm Emanuel for the last couple of days.
I'm sure he thinks the same thing.
Yeah. So is Rahm Emanuel here? Am I misdirecting in that direction?
No, you are not misdirecting. Come on, Cenk. Who calculates how to do health care based on how to keep blue dogs in the house, right?
Rahm
Who
Emanuel.
cuts a deal with pharma saying, we'll give you $300 billion worth of profits that we won't cut for the next decade if you spend $150 million on ads making sure that these guys stay in office? That's an electoral mind. That's the guy who ran the D-Trip. That's not a wonk.
Yeah. Now, is it fair to say I haven't seen Obama really not do what Emanuel says in any case, but maybe I'm missing it. Have we gotten any inside reporting on where Obama put his foot down and said, Rahm, I would like to respectfully disagree?
I don't think that this White House is a leaky White House, so I don't think that we know a lot about what goes on inside. But if you look at the history of bill passing, the way Rahm passed NAFTA was he walked up on the Hill and he just passed out like pork, like it was Pez. And it was really expensive, but he bought everybody's votes. And they wound up being these neoliberal, free trade, corporatist-friendly, New Democrat type of legislation. And that's how all the major legislation has been passed so far in this administration. So if he's putting the reins on Rahm, it isn't being done in any sort of meaningful way, but that could just be a reflection of the fact that he agrees with the guy.
It could be, yes. So, Jane, before we let you go, I think it's really important that you explain something you wrote on firedoglake.com about why the money being funneled to the Democrats rather than the Republicans is so important, and how that affects this health care battle going on right now.
Well, think about it. during Tom DeLay, the reign of Tom DeLay and K Street, Tom DeLay ran the K Street project, and he said all of the money going through K Street has to go through Republicans. So you have to hire Republican lobbyists, and that money has to be funneled into Republican coffers, and that's going to fund a permanent Republican majority, right? Mm-hmm. So when the Democrats took control of the House and the Senate, that started to break up a little bit because clearly you had to get legislation through Congress, but not completely because George Bush still held the veto pen. So, or the pen, and they weren't going to override him. So, there was some limit on it. But now that the Democrats are in control, it's the battle for K Street. It's the battle for who's going to control that money. And Pfizer sat there sort of tapping their toe on the side going, okay, who wants me, right? And so, there were angry battles where Max Baucus's chief of staff would say, you stakeholders, you better stay here at the table with us. We'll let you negotiate on this, but if you go meet with the Republicans, we'll consider it a hostile act and you can't be here anymore. And Billy Townsend, who's the head of pharma, was playing both ends against the middle. Who's going to give me the best deal here? And in the end, you remember our good friend John Boehner wrote a letter to Billy Townsend, like he was, the girlfriend that left him, saying you're betraying your stockholders and the people, your members. Why don't you join with the Republicans to defeat this horrible Obamacare? You're not guarding your profits well enough, and it's this is what they care about. They care about who's going to finance the Republicans or the Democrats in 2010.
So the logic here is if they actually do something like the public option, which the healthcare companies don't want under any circumstances, then they drive all that lobbyist money from the healthcare industry to the Republicans, and then at that point it's more competitive, they think, in the races, congressional races coming up, et cetera, and eventually in 2012. But if they say, all right, we'll sell out to you first, and we won't include the public option, and we'll cut deals with you, then they take what they already view to be their advantage, which they do have this huge advantage in the Congress, and they add the lobbyist money on top, and they really drain the pool for the Republicans, and then they feel, this is Rahm Emanuel's calculation, then they feel the Republicans have no chance. So that's the battle that's being played out here, it appears, and I think you wrote about it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then ironically, this healthcare reform, then can't you draw the conclusion, or don't you have to draw the conclusion, Jane, that it was never really about reforming the system? It was a contest as to who could win the lobbyist money better.
Well, it's sort of what happened with the bank bailouts. That's incomprehensible until you apply that yardstick to it. Why didn't they, go after the bonuses for the AIG executives? Why didn't they try and, retain any of that? It would cause huge public cynicism. Why didn't they do it? Because they didn't want the banks taking all that money and financing the Republicans either.
Yeah. Boy, God, this is depressing. It's gotten even more depressing. Look, can we agree here at the end of this, the time that we have here, that if we don't do campaign finance reform, we're never going to fix any of this?
I'm with you. But I think the problem may be bigger than that.
I mean, because the whole system is infected, and everything's a battle not over actual policy, but over which of the two political parties can grab more of the lobbyist money. And in that equation, we're just a pawn. We're being used as tools, not the people who they're actually trying to serve.
But ask yourself why in this healthcare battle you never saw any advertisements going after the insurance industry. Why didn't you have big mansions by the guys who were the head of United Healthcare and WellPoint, $700 million in stock options? Why didn't you have those pictures on TV? Because Obama, the administration, in order to keep the stakeholders at the table, made all of the liberal groups that normally would have been running those ads not run them. That's why Rahm Emanuel showed up to that common purpose meeting where Move On and all the unions were, and yelled at them and called them effing stupid and said, don't advertise against Blue Dogs. They didn't want them upsetting any of this sort of delicate balance. So you end up with a mushy campaign with no messaging, no villain, that the teabaggers stepped into with their death panels and really seized the high rhetoric. And so they're left selling, community rating, whatever that means.
Yeah. No, look, we're in a lot of trouble. Every day that Rahm Emanuel stays in the White House is a day where we're heading in the wrong direction, not the right direction, and it doesn't look.
You are a man after my own heart, Tank.
Okay, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. So that's not.
I don't know that Rahm survives this. Obama's got to make some changes. This has been a debacle.
Oh,
and it's not.
You're more hopeful than I am, Jane. You think he's going to get rid of Rahm Emanuel? I think he'd get rid of all of us before he touched Rahm Emanuel.
Oh no, I don't think we're done yet. He's got nowhere to go. He can't cut these. He can't go back on these deals, or he's got the revolt of the stakeholders.
Right.
If he doesn't pass a public plan, look at the people are forming on the sidelines. He's going to have on Tuesday morning this congregation of people who worked on his campaign saying, "Don't do this to us."
I know, but he's going to, right? I mean, we're way over time, but on Wednesday he's not going to fight for the public option, right? The speech is coming up on Wednesday. There's no way.
But it just gets worse, and when things keep getting worse, somebody goes under the bus.
Well, all right. Give me a little ray of hope there.
All right.
Okay. Jane Hamsher's with FireDogLake.com. Everybody check it out. She writes great and piercing pieces, I think, on this issue there. Jane, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dick.